Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the October 14th, 2025 Zoning Board of Appeals meeting. I'm going to introduce the members of the Zoning Board of Appeals. To my far left is Chris Greenleaf. To my near left is Paul Kleinow. I'm Jan Rise, Chair. Next to me is Jacob Silva. And to my far right is Doug Rice. I will accept a motion to approve the minutes.
I move approval of the minutes from Tuesday, August 12th, 2025.
I'll second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? It's unanimous. Is there anyone here for public comment that is not related to our agenda item this evening? Seeing no one, we'll go right into our business part of the meeting. Case number Z2506, 101 Center Avenue. The appellant is requesting relief from zoning regulations found in Article 17, off-street parking and loading, related to the number of required off-street parking spaces for use. The proposed use of the property is for an 8-room bed and breakfast inn. Section 122-383 requires 10 off-street parking spaces, and 7 are provided. Is there someone here to speak to the request for this variance? Please sign in. And then make sure you have the microphone close enough so we can hear you. And then state your name, please.
Lindsay Edmonds. First, thank you everyone for being here. I am requesting, as it's been stated, relief from the parking. So there's, as you know, there's 10 spaces required. With the drawings you guys have, there's 7 that are provided. One of the reasons is we had 9 initially when we went to the Planning Commission, received approval from them. Planning Commission wanted to see angled parking in the lot. They also wanted to see the one-way drive aisle. So entering in on Grant and exiting on Center Avenue. So that also created further discrepancies in our parking. So essentially we'd like to have 3 that are on the street. Another thing to keep in mind, inns, hotels rarely run at 100% occupancy. So this is probably most likely a Friday night, Saturday night where we would have 3 people on the street. That's all I have for you guys.
Are there any questions for Ms.?
I do not have any questions.
Members, do you have any questions?
Ms. Edmonds, in my capacity as chairman of the Planning Commission, you did approach us and request special use, which we granted conditional upon your meeting the provisions of Section 122-382. The site plan that you've provided for the ZBA appears to meet the requirements of Section 122-382 to the letter. I have a question, though, regarding the dumpster location. You're showing a dumpster which you did not show on the drawing that was provided to the Planning Commission. Can you elucidate us on that?
Yeah, so that is something Terry had requested to be on there. Also with the required setback, because there is a home on the north property line, so the required setback for that dumpster, you can see took away a parking spot as well. It's an extremely small site. So with the 7 parking spaces, to meet code zoning for the dumpster, and the ADA ramp up the east side of the building gets us to 7. So that was a request by Terry to add to the site plan.
To staff, is there a reason why the individual trash bins could not be used on this site as opposed to a dumpster?
I believe it has to do, and I'd have to do some research on it, with the amount of units. And when it hits over a particular amount of units, it's considered a commercial property, which now has to have a dumpster and not the individual containers.
I remember having this conversation before on another case, and I don't remember what that number is.
Again, I'm not sure the exact number. I know when building department, it's anything 5 or over. And I don't know if that's the same with zoning. I would have to confer with Terry to find out what makes it a commercial and requires the dumpsters. But I know with building, it's 5 or over. It's now considered commercial.
Okay, that would be something we'd have to
Yeah, we could
get clarification
definitely
from on
research and get some clarification for you.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
So how often do you think you'll have max capacity where the extra 3 spots I needed? I know we can imagine that, let's say every weekend, very successful business, it could be full. What's your realistic expectation for the moment?
Currently, the 2 other Airbnb properties I run in town, we are at 100% capacity on the weekends. It's 50, they run at 50% capacity roughly for the month, both of them. One is downtown above my coffee shop. We provide a space for them. I own the building next to it. Summit Printing parking lot. That could also be a solution as far as being the business owner and the innkeeper. My 2 spaces could technically be downtown in that parking lot, and I could commute to the property. But I would say hopefully 100% on the weekends.
You actually somewhat answered my second question. So in regards to the number of units, there'd be 8 units, and we're somewhat assuming there'd be 1 vehicle per unit most of the time, probably not 2 vehicles coming in for a single unit. So 2 of the required spots for the parking minimums are for owner and staff. If you were at max capacity, could you clear those spots for guests and commute? Like that's a commitment you could make?
One does have to be for the innkeeper that does have to stay on property. So if we were at 100% plus the innkeeper, that would be 9.
So in that case, you need 2 off-street parking, if I'm doing the math correct, right?
We would need 1. So if we're at 100% capacity, 8 rooms are full. The innkeeper is there. That would be 9 parking spaces. We have 7 on site. 2 would have to go to the street.
So I have a question. This is a bed and breakfast, so you provide a hot breakfast to who's ever staying there, correct? So do you have another person that comes in and takes care of that? Does cooks, whatever?
No, that would be the innkeeper's responsibility.
Okay.
To the chair, or through the chair to the applicant. Ms. Edmonds, what do you anticipate your own travel to and from the property to be? Any?
As the owner,
Correct.
I mean, I would say probably daily, especially probably within the first year. Obviously, in the summertime, I mean, I walk that street daily. So in the summertime, you know, use of walking, riding my bike, I mean, I'm a quarter of a mile from downtown. If it was that large of an issue where this would not be approved because of parking, it's also a very, aside from Sunday mornings, I mean, there is ample street parking over there during the week.
Thank you.
Yeah, so when you say there'll be ample street parking, have you done some surveying of that during the week so that you know how many cars are parked there day and night?
There is, I don't know if it's the Trinity Episcopal Church. There's a gray truck over there daily on Grant Street. Other than that, there is nothing on Grant Street aside from Sunday morning, between the hours of like 8:30 and 10:30 while church is in session. They also have their own parking lot. Other than that, there is ample parking on Grant Street on the, what would that be? The north and south side. And then there's ample parking on Fifth Street as well.
Can you give us an idea of what would happen if this variance wasn't approved for you with, as far as, how would you move forward if we required even one more space on the property?
It is virtually impossible. I mean, the architect has submitted numerous drawings. So for the requirements for ADA, for the Planning Commission requirement of angled parking, for the Planning Commission of one-way drive, they have made it extremely difficult, removed 2 parking spaces from the site. The dumpster requirement, personally, I'd probably collapse the idea and let the home sit vacant. And that, I mean, I don't know what the other option is.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else?
I have a question, and this is more for like the city. Why did the planning commission go from a straight angle parking to an angle parking in the parking lot to eliminate spaces?
I can answer that. Section 122-382 specifies aisle widths based upon the various types of parking arrangements. A zero angle parking, which would be straight in, requires 12 feet per aisle, and it would also constitute, it'd be 24 feet then for two-way traffic. Whereas the angle parking for a 30-degree angle only requires an aisle width of 11 feet, and it would be one way. So that's primarily why we had that discussion.
Jan, in response to your comment or question, the only other option for this as far as parking would be to propose a rezoning of the property for commercial. That would relieve all parking requirements for the site if it was a commercial property. So that would be essentially the only other option.
Well, you have an option of reducing the number of your units.
Financially, the amount of money that will go into that property to rehab it, to bring it up to code with fire suppression, with ADA, with historic requirements, I would not be in favor of that. There's already one, we already have to have one room with it being zoned for the B&B, approved for the B&B, for the innkeeper. So loss in revenue for us on one room wouldn't make it financially viable.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
I guess I'll save that comment for later. Regarding the site layout, can you speak to what I'm looking at the site map here, the house next door with the easement? It looks like the driveway would essentially be shared with the lot here. What is your planning for making sure they can get in and out? Which direction are they supposed to follow with the traffic? What is,
So there is actually not an easement for that property. There's been a title search done, that north property. They are illegally currently using the driveway and the parking lot now, and that is required to be screened by the zoning department, or by the building department, excuse me. So they will have no access. They would have to park on the street or essentially put in their own driveway.
and you're saying that's regardless of the decision here, that's just something that's been discovered, or?
It's been discovered that there's no easement for them to be parking how they currently are and using our driveway and parking lot on site. So that has been discovered. The requirement of the building department requires a full screen along all property lines. So that has to be completely screened with a fence or shrubbery. So there will be zero access for them.
So I guess question for staff on that, is that going to be, code enforcement's going to have to require that kind of regardless of how this issue pans out? That screen's going to have to be established, or what's that going to look like?
That screen would be required evidently through the building department and/or the planning department. The actual easement, that's a contractual issue between the two neighbors that they would have to resolve, and there must have been a title search that there wasn't one. So staff has decided, or through the ordinance, that they have to have that screen. So it would be required in order to continue with the project.
Well, the long and short of it is that your 2 to 3 cars and your neighbor's cars have to park on the street.
The neighbor's car is not my concern. The neighbor.
I know it's not, I know that.
They're currently illegally using it, so that should be a mute comment.
But it goes to parking load on the street when we're discussing this, that the parking load there.
Or they could put in a driveway. I mean, they have ample space on their side to put in a driveway to get to their current cement pad.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I think to the point of the applicant with about the neighbors parking, I mean, that should be a null point. I mean, honestly, if they're using that without a easement that is through the title, that would be up to that owner of that property legally to install their own driveway. And that, I mean, I don't feel that we should take that in concern about the neighbors if they're illegally using the property.
But Chris, that would be in our discussion.
It's in both, though. It can be an open comment and discussion.
Again, I'm going to say it goes to the load of parking on the street when thinking about this. Anyone else? Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone here that would like to speak to us regarding this request? Okay. Sign in and then state your name, and then you can share with us what you wish to share.
Hi, everyone. My name is Margot Appold. I am the owner of a property that received a letter about this. I have a 4-unit rental on Sherman and 5th. I live in the historic district. I have an Airbnb right off of Green, and additionally, I own the former Scottish Rite building located at 614 Center. I would like to encourage you to approve Lindsay's request. I can personally promise and commit to providing her, excuse me, 2 parking spots in my private parking lot on the corner if parking becomes an issue for the innkeeper and/or her staff. So I don't think that that's something that you need to take into consideration when you think of her parking. I also think it's important that we support proven business owners in our city. Lindsay has multiple businesses here. They're all successful. I think that we are focusing on a non-issue. To the point of parking load, I can go park right on that street every day if I want to. There's nothing prohibiting me So I don't know that this is a real issue. It seems to me that it's more valuable to have people come to our city, stay in our city, spend money in our city, than to worry about 2 parking spots. I would love to see you guys take the stance of how can we make this work instead of why are we worried about 2 parking spots? So, like I said, happy to commit 2 parking spots in my private lot to Lindsay and her staff, her innkeepers, whomever, at any point, 365 days a year, to alleviate that issue if that is a burden. Thanks.
Anyone else?
Good evening. My name is Stuart Barbier. I live directly, diagonally across from the 1001 Center Avenue. I wrote a letter in support of this project to the Planning Commission, and then as secretary of the Center Avenue Neighborhood Association, I wrote a letter supporting the project to the Planning Commission, which was a decision by the Board of Directors. And so here I'm in person. I prefer writing, but here I am. And my college where I teach encourages us to do something called situational fairness. In other words, what will it take to achieve success? So in the case of my students, it might mean moving a deadline for whatever reason. In the case of this, we have a new business that will bring people into the city that will be spending money. And these are people with money. These are not cheap places to stay. It's much cheaper to stay in just a standard hotel. And so part of that success then is recognizing Bay City spends a lot of money trying to bring new businesses in. And so when an arm of the government decides not to bring in a new business because of the parking issue, I think that would be rather unfair. 7 out of 10 isn't bad. Directly, diagonally opposite me on the other side of Grant is a 16-unit apartment building, 0 parking. All of those units have to park on the street. Even though it was recently extensively renovated, it didn't somehow trigger being brought into current code, which I find kind of bizarre. And then you mentioned about trash. I don't know, 36 barrels lining the apartment when they're not turned upside down on the street. Again, we can look at fairness and think that's not really fair. Another thing, the beautiful Episcopal Church, I don't know if it doesn't have enough parking for its own business, and to say that we shouldn't approve this request because that will give their competition because they don't have enough parking for their parishioners seems also rather unfair. I think that there is enough to accommodate an extra 2 cars, and I didn't know about her offer of the 2 parking spaces. So we're now talking 1, right? 1 extra car is not a burden to the Episcopal Church. To have that house restored, it's a contributing resource in the historic district. It's falling apart. They've made changes to the house they shouldn't have. I know they didn't go before the HDC. They replaced 2 front pillars, the current owner, with just wood, and they didn't do anything with that. The house will continue to deteriorate. It's written up in Dale Willicke's book. I would urge the commission to approve this request, if only to save the house, let alone to bring the money in and to be situationally fair, which is the purpose of this board, is to determine what would be situational fairness when things don't quite nicely fit into the rules and regulations. So please approve this request and make me happy as a neighbor. I would welcome showing the visitors the neighborhood and answering their questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Seeing no one come forward, is there a motion to close this portion and go into our business portion of the meeting?
I'll make the motion to go to our business portion.
Is there a
Support.
second? Okay. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Does someone want to start?
I'll start. I guess I'm just going to reiterate what I just said a little bit ago. I mean, I think us as a board have to look at these opportunities that people want to bring into our city. I think talking over a null point of basically a parking spot or two, I mean, bed and breakfasts are to-go places in cities and communities like ours. I mean, I just spent last weekend in Pemackinac Island at a bed and breakfast, and I would rather have done that than stay at a big hotel chain. I think the city is looking to bring more of these home businesses here to grow the economy, the workforce, and to make our city a better place to live and have people come to.
I took a look at the schematics and I thoroughly enjoyed the way that it was laid out. Going from 10 parking spaces in that area, and they had to shift it over, so that lost like 3 spots. I understand that. And then the driveway flow looks good. It's not like going from center, turning right. It's, you got to go on from Grant Street into that area. And if they have to go from center, they're not turning into a parking lot. They're going from Grant to the parking lot. So I just want to make that comment that I liked how the schematics looked.
Anyone else? Okay. Does someone want to start with the standards? If not, I will. One is strict compliance with restrictions governing area, setback, frontage, height, etc., are burdensome and will render conformity with the 10 parking spaces as unnecessarily burdensome.
I think, us going and staying with that 10 spot is making it burdensome for the applicant. They're trying to restore this building, bring in business, and by us saying no, it reduces the feasibility of her even continuing on with this project, letting into another property in the city that's vacant, falling apart on a historic pathway in our city.
I think we can all recognize that the size of this property with the size of the house does make it almost impossible to have the 10 parking spaces required. So I think we meet this standard.
I would like to note also that the applicant did reduce the number of barrier-free handicap units that provided a little additional space on the site for parking, although the angled parking kind of negated that. But she certainly made an effort to comply with the intent of Section 122-382.
Standard number 2, the variance will do substantial justice to the appellant as well as other property owners.
I think on this one, we do meet the standards on that. Any reduction would prohibit her from using the property as she intends to use it as a bed and breakfast. So like I said, you're maintaining the 10 spots would be bothersome and burdensome. And this will do justice to the neighborhood by improving the home itself and then the appeal up from the outside and then the business on the inside.
I think I'll just add that the counterfactual would be that the additional parking does not do justice to the property owners, and I think because both sides of Grant do allow parking, and we've already cut back to 2 or less spots on the street by parking elsewhere, for example, that there at least is some amount of planning for this that they've taken into account.
I believe the justice will be served because there will not be a vacant building sitting on Center Avenue and in the neighborhood. And it will do substantial justice for the applicant because it will allow her to move forward with her plans for this building. This is a approved use in this zoning. It's just that they needed a special use permit. So this is something that can happen here. So from that standpoint, it does provide her substantial justice. C, a lesser variance than that requested would not give substantial relief to the applicant. Anyone want to address that?
I would like to address that. If we allowed a lesser variance of, say, 8 parking spots instead of the 10 that are required, she still loses the ability of renting that one unit. And as she noted, that's probably going to be less than the break even that she would have on being able to recoup the cost of the improvements to the building.
We'll move on now to number 4, or D. The need for the variance is due to unique circumstances peculiar to the property, such as an odd shape, extreme narrowness, and not due to general neighborhood conditions to other properties in the same zoning district.
I think that goes without saying. I'm sorry, Paul?
I think that goes without saying. But yes, looking at the site plan, there just simply are not other options, especially if we want the traffic flow to come in on Grant Street, where residents are concerned about the congestion on Center. So that's dealt with. There's really no other way to make that work.
I concur.
Number E, the problem and resulting need for the variance has not been self-created.
I'll answer that one. It's not self-created. That home is 100-plus years old, sitting on that property at that size. The land that it's on has always been that size since the home was built.
And I'll just add to address the counterfactual, you could claim that the self-created problem is choosing a number of units too big for the lot size, but the applicant's claim is that any less usage of the space would not allow them to functionally run the business and recoup their costs. So if we accept that argument, then this claim would be true.
Yes, I agree that it's not self-created. The property is what the property is, and it can't get any bigger, and therefore, we're just trying to make it fit, quote unquote. So, anyone else? Okay, so would someone like to make a motion?
I'll make the motion that we approve this variance as applicant is requesting based on our discussion of the standards that meet this need.
I'll second that motion.
Yes, Sue.
Quick point of order, we had those 2
Oh,
correspondents. Do
correct,
we
you're
have to read
correct.
those
Yes,
into
I'm
the record?
sorry. I apologize.
Nope.
They got buried here. My apologies.
That's all right.
Do you want these read into the record? Okay. Mr. Rise, can I have you read them into the record, please?
Certainly. I'll read the correspondence from Mr. Ed Bennett's first. Planning and Zoning Board of Appeal members, I have lived in this neighborhood for 43 years. I believe the ZBA members need to be made aware of several things before considering a variance approval for 1001 Center Avenue. For the following reasons, I and several other neighbors are opposed to relief for 1001 Center Avenue. One, there is already a tremendous amount of traffic on Center Avenue / M25, a main corridor, and it will not improve, lessen, even when the Lafayette Street Bridge is reopened in 2 years. It is already a hardship in the neighborhood. It is already a hardship to try to turn right on a very busy road. Two, 1001 Center Avenue, even with 7 parking spaces, will be very congested and have a negative traffic flow pattern / flow in the neighborhood. For the proposed owner to ask for relief for her potential business is an additional burden on the neighborhood. Some people have been in the neighborhood for over 40 years, and while we welcome restoration of an old building / home, we do not feel comfortable with expanded parking on a public street. 3, Mr. Franz, the elder, who died several years ago, sold a 50 by 100-foot parking lot that was required for his previous business offices, etc., at 1001 Center Avenue. The City of Bay City should have then, in December of 1999, immediately changed / restricted the number of offices for that address, as the owner had knowingly violated the requirements for parking for his business rentals. Mr. Franz, the younger, should perhaps list the structure on the open market and open it for other potential buyers who would make it into a single-family home and or home with business at the same location. Why don't he and the City of Bay City consider this as an option? 4, a 6-unit apartment building to the west of 1001 Center Avenue and Trinity Episcopal Church are often using street parking because a sixth unit was added about 15 to 18 years ago, and the needed 2 parking spaces were not added to the property at 909 Center Avenue. Thank you for listening to my concerns and that of the majority of the neighbors within the 300-foot range of 1001 Center Avenue. Ed Bennett's, 812 North Van Buren Street, Bay City, Michigan, 48708. Telephone 989-893-7026. This is an email from Josh Reinbolt, sent on Tuesday, October 14th, 2025, sent to the Planning and Zoning Department with the city, I'm assuming. Subject, variance application Z25-06, 1001 Center Avenue / public meeting, October 14th, 2025. Attachments, and he has several photograph JPEGs attached. I'm not going to read that part. Bay City Zoning Board of Appeal members. My name is Joshua Reinbolt, and I own the property at 812 North Grant Street, which is directly adjacent to the property in question on the north side. Being unable to attend the meeting scheduled on October 14th, I am writing this to inform you of my position on the proposed variance. My first concern lies in the increased demand for street parking that approval of the variance would cause. While 2 additional spaces would not normally seem much of a burden, when combined with the spikes in utilization of street parking on Grant Street caused by parishioners and guests of the Trinity Episcopal Church throughout the week, this variance would make my ability to use street parking more difficult. I have seen this effect even after the change enacted to allow parking on both sides of Grant Street. Whenever the church has events, especially during Sunday services, my parking options are blocks away or utilizing the limited parking space available on my property. I would assume that a bed and breakfast parking needs would normally increase on weekends as well. An additional point to consider is the only off-street parking available available to me is that which is accessible through what I consider a legally enforceable easement that runs through the proposed parking lot of the 1001 Center Avenue property to a paved area on my property. See attached photos. This is an easement that has been in use since I purchased the property in 2006. I am currently unaware of the layout of the 7 proposed parking spaces. However, if that proposal impedes the easement in any way, the actual on-site parking available at 1001 Center Street will actually be less than the current variance request of 7 usable spaces. For the reasons stated above, I am opposed to granting of the requested variance. Best regards, Joshua Reinbold, 812 North Grant Street, Bay City, Michigan. Typo here, 46708. 989-397-2357.
Thank you. Are there any other items of correspondence?
For the record, I just want to state that both of those letters with the photographs had been handed out to the members before the meeting began, just so that it's understood that you did have those letters before a motion was made.
Thank you. Okay. We're now at a vote, please, and a voice vote. We do a voice vote, Sue? Usually. Person in charge, yes. Roll call.
I apologize. Mr. Greenleaf?
Yes.
Mr. Kleinow?
Yes.
Ms. Rise?
Yes.
Mr. Silva?
Yes.
And Mr. Rise?
Yes.
5 yeas, no nays. This variance is approved.
Jan, should we do a motion to make it effective immediately, because we don't know when our next meeting is?
It won't affect her getting a building permit, right, if we don't? I mean, we can, but it's not, go ahead.
I'll make the motion that we make this variance tonight to go through, so she doesn't have to wait to our next zoning board meeting.
Effective immediately.
Effective immediately, that's what I was trying to say, I'm sorry.
Thank you. Okay,
Second?
I can do this with just a yay and nay, right? Yes, okay. All in favor of making it effective today on October 14th, signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Unanimous.
Who seconded that? Thank you.
Is there any other business to bring before our group?
No, not this evening.
Okay, but I had a little bird tell me that we'll probably meet in November. Is that true, Lisa?
Not that I know of, I don't.
You're not sure?
No.
That's fine. Okay. Okay. Is there any other business to bring before the group? Is there a motion to adjourn?
I'll make the motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned.